Hey there guys, alright, today we are back with some more history matters. This time, why did the USSR refuse to annex Mongolia? A short animated documentary. I didn't even know they really had the ability to annex. Like, I didn't know Mongolia was like, yo, I want to be a part of the USSR. That new information to me. And I can't really think of why the USSR would really refuse. Would Mongolia proportionately have, I don't know how populated Mongolia is. I think it's sparsely populated, but it could have more than would it be I mean the Ukrainian Socialist Republic within the USSR had a lot of people in it. I don't know. Like, part of me wants to say it would be a political reasoning behind not letting a certain one of the socialist republics get too much power. I don't know if that was a worry for the USSR, because I'm not a Russian historian, so I don't really know what the reasoning could be here. That's just me guessing, taking a wild shot in the dark. But before we dive in, make sure you go and check out the links in the description box below. I would love it if you joined the Discord and followed me over at Twitch. Let's go ahead and get the answer here.
Throughout history, it's been rare for a country to request to be annexed. It's even rarer for the answer to that question to be no.
Yeah.
But when the Mongolian People's Republic asked the USSR several times to be incorporated into it,
Not once, but several times,
the answer was always that. Which raises the obvious question. Why? Why did the USSR refuse to annex Mongolia? First, it should be noted just how an independent Mongolia came to be and the USSR's role in that. As many of you will know, Mongolia was a part of China under the Qing dynasty. That wasn't until it all, to use a technical term, went to hell and Mongolia declared its independence in 1911. It was briefly reincorporated into the new Republic of China in 1919 before declaring its independence again 2 years later. At this point, the Russian Civil War was well underway and it soon spilled over into Mongolia and it was occupied by communist troops. Now, the new USSR did agree with the Chinese that Mongolia was still a rightful part of China. After a series of talks in 1924, the Soviets agreed.
Oh, so it is still, obviously it of course has a deeply political reasoning, but it's because of relationships with China
To withdraw. But the timetable for this would be set at another meeting, except for one issue. The USSR was now under new mustachioed leadership. It simply opted to postpone the meeting to Monday the 4th of Never and then created a communist government in Mongolia. From its inception, Communist Mongolia was a Soviet puppet state. However, unlike its neighbour to the north, the Tuvan People's Republic, Mongolia wasn't annexed into the USSR. And the primary reason for this was to avoid war both with China and also Japan. From 1952 onwards, Mongolia was ruled by a man called Yumjaglin Sedambal. Look, I'm not even going to pretend that pronunciation was any good. Sedambal over the course.
Yeah, I'm looking at this and I have, maybe I could say the last name right, Sedambal. But that, I feel like even that pronunciation was a very westernized way to say the name. So, yeah.
Of his premiership asked to be incorporated into the
Annex me. I think that's the first time they ever done a daddy joke in this series. Annex me, daddy.
The USSR at least 6 times, and each and every time the answer was no. So why? Well, it was down to the fact that the USSR could get everything it wanted from Mongolia without any sort of negatives that would come from annexing it. Also,
True.
When you look at all of the states that the USSR did annex, they were by and large all former parts of the Russian Empire, and annexing states from outside of these borders wasn't something any Soviet leaders were interested in, largely because the USSR wanted to cultivate an international reputation
More like imperialism.
of being anti-imperialist, and pinching neighbours didn't fit with that.
But obviously making them puppets is completely different from imperialism, right?
Mongolia's economy had largely been built by the USSR to serve the needs of Moscow.
Totally not imperialism.
And Mongolia was incorporated into the Soviet economy nearly to the same extent as, say, Kazakhstan or Uzbekistan.
It's totally not imperialism, right?
It's just that having it as a nominally independent nation would spare the upset of the USSR's valuable Chinese allies to the south. And also, it was a card that the USSR always wanted to hold in case it needed diplomatic leverage with the Chinese. Theoretically, the status of Mongolia could always be settled at a later date, and always in China's favour if the right situation ever arose. Which is why, despite Mongolia's asking, the USSR always refused to annex it. Mongolia was already giving it everything that it wanted. I hope you
This was, honestly, I think this might be my favorite of their like 3-minute short animated uh, question series. They really answered this really well. Went into way more. Like, I'm surprised the amount of depth that they were able to cover here in 2.5 minutes. Insane. Like, I fucking learned a lot here. They covered some pretty good political nuance between the Chinese and the Russians at this time. Yeah, that was well done. Well made. That was why the USSR refused to annex Mongolia. Short animated documentary by History Matters. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.